It's the Saturday before Halloween, the candy's stocked, the costumes are ready, and the horror marathons are playing on every screen. But tonight, or today, we're diving into a different kind of bloodbath, the kind inked in panels and splattered across comic book pages. These horror legends didn't stop with the big screen. From slashers to supernatural monsters, some of your favorite movie maniacs have absolutely killed it in the world of comics. And a few of them are even deadlier on the page than they were in the theaters. So grab your flashlight, check behind the couch, and get ready, because here are 10 horror movie icons who killed it in comics. Before the games began, this chilling origin story showed us the moment that John Kramer stopped being a man and became Jigsaw, in our number 10 book, Saw Rebirth. I remember sitting in the theater watching the first Saw movie, and I can tell you one thing. No one in that theater expected the twist at the end. Spawning a truckload of sequels, that original film has had quite an impact and has made Jigsaw into a cultural icon. Originally distributed as a Best Buy promo for shoppers who picked up Saw on DVD, this issue is the prequel to the Saw movies, where we're treated to Jigsaw's origin story. Recent sales for Saw Rebirth have been in the $25 to $35 range for higher-end copies, with some very fine-range copies moving for under $20. Who knew a story about pain and punishment would end up rewarding collectors instead? Coming in at number 9, the killer doll with a killer sense of humor proves he doesn't need batteries or a movie screen to keep the bodies piling up. It's Child's Play 2, number 1. Published in January 1991 by Innovation, Child's Play 2, number 1 begins a 3-part adaptation of the movie Child's Play 2 and is the first comic book appearance of everybody's favorite good guy doll, Chucky. Now, Chucky debuted on the big screen in 1988's Child's Play, an innocent doll possessed by the spirit of a psycho killer named Charles Lee Ray through some kind of voodoo ritual. And if you're an 80s or 90s kid like me, the opening scene of that movie is a great walk down memory lane, as the aforementioned ritual takes place in a toy store that is absolutely loaded with toys and all sorts of goodies that you will most likely recognize. Sales for higher-end raw copies have been in the $30 to $35 range according to recent completed eBay listings, and honestly, the covers for this series are a little cartoony for me, which is kind of a rare slip-up for Innovation with many of these horror IPs that they had back in the day, and they had a lot of them. Still, it's a fun book for any Child's Play fan. At number 8, this mischievous menace struck gold before the movie even hit theaters in Leprechaun number 1, a promo comic that was actually more interested in protecting its pot of gold than some Lucky Charms. Distributed in 1992 to promote the upcoming movie of the same name, Leprechaun would hit U.S. theaters on January 8, 1993. Starring Warwick Davis of Willow and Star Wars fame, the movie also features a pre-Friends Jennifer Aniston in an early role. Published by Vidmark Entertainment, 2 versions of this book exist. The more common version has a black border around the front cover, while the harder to find version has a white border. Though, truth be told, neither of them seems to be too readily available at the moment. 2 extremely overpriced copies with the black border are currently available on eBay for about 3 times the price of the only 2 reporting sales. So if, you want to be financially irresponsible, help yourself. Apparently, I could have just made this a $30 to $35 top 10 up to this point, because you guessed it, recent sales have actually only been $30 to $35 for this one too. At number 7, Pleasure and Pain meet panels and pages as Clive Barker's Hellraiser number 1 tears your soul apart, in comic form anyway, and makes every page a puzzle worth solving. Published under the Marvel imprint Epic in 1989, some 2 years after the first Hellraiser movie hit theaters, Hellraiser number 1 is an unusual book for the comic hobby. The cover features Pinhead, the series' most noteworthy antagonist and the leader of the Cenobites, but the character does not actually appear in the story inside. Generally, it's the other way around. You'll get somebody that appears inside, but not on the cover. Now, readers would have to stick around for issue number 2 before Pinhead would actually show up on the interior story. The series would go on to run for a total of 20 issues, which seems like a surprisingly high number of issues for such a bleak and graphic story. However, issue 17 would give us Alex Ross's first Marvel cover. The Lament configuration, or the Hellraiser puzzle box, is one of the most recognizable artifacts in modern horror, and Pinhead's character design is straight up iconic, making this series quite collectible with horror fans. Though the price tag is pretty appealing as well, as recent sales have been in the $15 to $25 range of late, making this a great spooky season pickup for collectors on a budget. At number 6, the mother of all slashers takes center stage as Friday the 13th, Pamela's Tale numbers 1 and 2 dive into the origin of Camp Crystal Lake's most overprotective parent and show that the madness started long before Jason picked up the machete. Published by Wildstorm in September and October of 2007, Friday the 13th, Pamela's Tale focuses on one of the most influential and often overlooked slashers in all of the genre, Pamela Voorhees. Everybody knows Jason. He's on the Mount Rushmore of slashers and Halloween characters in general, but we're quick to forget that the killer in the original Friday the 13th movie wasn't Jason at all. It was his mom, Mrs. Voorhees. This two-part series dives into her origin story, including the birth of Jason, and it walks you right up into the events of the very first Friday the 13th movie. But my favorite thing about these books is that the issues feature connecting cover art that's really nice. It's pretty spooky and it looks great. Horror collectors have taken note of this series as well, as recent sales for the set have been in the $90 to $130 range over the last few months, making the series one of the most valuable of all Friday the 13th comics. At number 5, things get messy deep in the heart of Texas as Leatherface number 1 revs up the horror with a blood-soaked adaptation that proves some family traditions should never be passed down. Published in April 1991, Leatherface number 1 is the first official comic book appearance of Leatherface some 17 years after the Texas Chainsaw Massacre first arrived in U.S. theaters. I recently rewatched the movie, and for as disturbing and brutal as it may be, it's surprisingly lacking in blood and gore that the genre would eventually be known for. The series ran for 4 issues from North Star Publishing, but soon the IP would move over to Wildstorm and then Avatar, like most of the rest of the properties that we have or will discuss in this video. Recent sales have had a bit of a wide range of completed prices, with some sales going for as little as $15 and some as high as $30 in the current period. Landing in the number 4 spot, The Legend of Crystal Lake takes one last trip straight to the underworld with Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday number 1, and it proves that even hell can't hold a Voorhees. Published in July 1993, Jason Goes to Hell has the ultimate 90s flex, a glow-in-the-dark cover. And, it just didn't get any better than that, though they did try, because it also came polybagged with 3 trading cards inside. Topps was just going all out. Published by Topps Comics, as I mentioned, this series ran for 3 issues and was an adaptation of the 1993 movie of the same name. It was released the same day as Satan's Six number 4, so these 2 books get to share the claim of having the first official comic book appearance of Jason Voorhees. This one isn't for kiddies though, as it has all the things that make a horror movie great. Violence, nudity, bad language, what else could you want? Copies in the sealed polybag have been selling for around the $20 to $25 price range, while loose copies have been moving in the $10 to $15 range in recent months. At number 3, sleep is officially canceled. Freddy Krueger's A Nightmare on Elm Street number 1 slashes its way off the screen and into your long box, turning every page into a bad dream you won't want to wake up from. A black and white Marvel magazine from October 1989, this Nightmare on Elm Street mag is a bit of a throwback to the monster magazines of the 1970s. Featuring a gorgeous Joe Jusko cover, this is the first appearance of Freddy Krueger in a comic book, even though it's a magazine. The character had appeared on the cover of Fright number 3 the year before, but the interior of that story was more of like a promotion or just a write-up about the movies as opposed to an actual comic book story. Now, the series was short-lived with only 2 issues being released, but Jusko's art is absolutely great on both issues, with issue 2's cover being particularly creepy. The original A Nightmare on Elm Street movie came out in 1984, but by the time this issue was published in 1989, the movie series was already up to A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Now, prices are all over the place for this book at the moment, but for a higher-end copy, I would expect to pay upwards of $100 and maybe even a little bit more, while mid-grade copies can be had in the $50 to $60 range right now. In at the number 2 spot, Art the Clown proves terror has a new face. Terrifier number 1 brings the blood, the chaos, and the smile that will haunt you long after you close the cover. Published by Dark Art Cinema in 2021, Terrifier number 1 was a print-to-order book that could have been yours for just $30 from the Terrifier shop back in 2021.
You serious?
Unfortunately, that ship has sailed, and copies of this book are few and far between, and the prices are much higher. Featuring the first comic book appearance of Art the Clown, I think this book will be a thing for some time. I can't think of another horror character of recent years that has really sunk its claws into pop culture quite the way that Art has. It doesn't appear that there were a lot of these things that were made, which has driven the price higher compared to the other books that we've talked about thus far. With 2 raw sales reporting, 1 copy sold in August for $400, while another sold at the end of July for $280. There are a few listed at the moment, but the cheapest you can buy a copy for right now is $450. Topping the countdown at number 1, the Shape himself proves that some horrors never age. Halloween number 1 slices straight from the screen to the page, and Michael Myers is just as deadly in ink as he is with a knife. Published in November 2000 by Chaos Comics, Halloween number 1 is the first appearance of Michael Myers in comic books. This issue had a number of variants, but it's hard to beat the classic photo A cover. Halloween was released on October 27th, 1978, and it essentially wrote the book on the slasher film. Other franchises would grab a hold of the concept and expand it over the course of the 1980s, but Halloween remains the cornerstone of the genre. This time of the year, prices tend to get a little spicy for Halloween 1, with the 2 most recent sales being right at $100 and another really nice raw copy going for as much as $169 earlier this month. Very fine range copies tend to run closer to the $60 price point outside of the peak Halloween season, so if you just want a copy of this one for your PC, you might hold out for a couple of weeks and possibly chase a VF copy that could save you a pretty fair amount on this one. And there you have it, 10 horror movie icons who didn't just slash through cinema, but also carved out a killer legacy in comic books too. From Dreamstalkers to Deadly Dolls, these horror legends have proven they're just as terrifying on the page as they are on the screen. Halloween might come once a year, but horror never goes out of print. Keep your eyes open, your bags boarded, and your shelves haunted. Collect responsibly, and I'll see you in the next one.